my friends, it's spring and I've got an updated spring Hoya collection for you. I've got a few new goodies added to my Hoya collection. First up is the Hoya compacta. Now I've got two of these. I've got a big one and I've got a little tiny one. I purchased the tiny one for $5. The price was too good to resist. And you know what? It's like a backup just in case something happens to the big one. Now this big one, I find that it puts out a lot of growth starting January. That's when it puts out a lot of new growth. And this year I've found 6 peduncles on it so far. It's going to be amazing. I'm hoping that all will bloom at the same time. It will be a spectacular show this summer. Looks like the Hoya Crimson Princess has reverted. I'm gonna have to cut this guy back and see if it will tendril out with some variegated leaves. But for now, I'm really enjoying this tendril. It's so nice and long, practically wrapping around the plant shelf. But I've got to tame this beast. So this Hoya Collection started off as 2 little cuttings, maybe 3 tendrils in a pot. And look, it's bushed out so much. I really like the idea of having this running up a trellis. I know it would probably be better in a hanging basket, but I'm really liking this trellis idea. And I've added it to the trellis, but look, there's tendrils spilling out of the pot, which I really need to control. Once this trellis is filled up, maybe I'll do some cuttings and try a hanging basket for my second Hoya Collection. Hoya nummularioides yellow. Now last fall when I moved this plant in from outside, I found that a lot of the tendrils dried off. But as soon as spring hits, maybe about end of February, all of a sudden this tendril just shot right out. It's practically wrapping itself around the other plants. But you know what? I am not gonna move this baby. I'm gonna let those leaves harden off first before I try to unravel this guy, because this is the most tendril it's grown for me since I've had this plant. Remember this one, the Hoya elongarum that grew under the bag? This spring I removed the bag and it shot out 4 new leaves, 2 on the bottom and 2 on the top. I'm quite impressed with this. You know what? I think it needed some time to acclimate to my home. Now that it's acclimated, I think I'm gonna leave the bag off and see how it does. I can't wait to move this one out to the balcony in the summer. That extra sunlight and humidity is gonna do it some good. First, I was so nervous about having a Hoya retusa. I've been told that they require a lot of humidity and a lot of water, but you know what, with my low humidity this winter, it survived. It's actually branched out over the winter, and I'm hoping once I move this one to the balcony as well, maybe I'll put it in a little bit of a shade so it stays moist a little bit more often instead of the harsh sun. I'm hoping it's gonna branch out quite a bit, because when this started it was just 2 little tiny cuttings. This is a new one. It's the Hoya Variegated. Now I received 2 cuttings and I've decided to lay it flat against the soil. I'm trying to encourage more rooting and possibly branching. I'm actually quite tempted to cut the in between the nodes to see if it will encourage more branching. But for now, she's thrown out a nice root. And at first the leaves were flat against the pot, but as the roots take hold, I find that the leaves are starting to stick up now, and that's the way that I know that this plant is getting established in the pot. I'm quite impressed with this cutting. This is the Hoya Sunrise. Now this one, I received it from TG Orchids. I purchased this one for $25. There's also an unboxing video that you can check out. The sun stressing has faded a little bit. You know what? I moved her away from the sun a little bit. I found that she wasn't giving much new growth. Since I've moved it away from the sun, she shot out 2 new leaves in the center, and it looks like there's a little bit of something happening on the end nodes. For now, I'm going to keep her away from the sun. Maybe later on I'll push her back out to a more sunny spot. I can actually agree with everyone on this plant. The Hoya compacta variegated is very slow growing. This new leaf shot out back in late December. It's nice and pink, but I don't think it's hardened off yet, and it's been about 4 months and it's still growing. Now, since January, it's shot out this tendril, which I am quite impressed about. I don't see any peduncles with it. I'm hoping it might produce something. If not, maybe next year. But for now, I'm quite happy that this plant survived in my care over the winter, especially with my low humidity. In this pot, I've got 2 cuttings of the Hoya macrophylla. Remember my propagation video? I started these guys off in water. Look how nicely they're doing now. There's a little tiny leaf coming out, and look at this tendril that it's pushing out. I am so impressed. And is that a little node as well? Absolutely amazing. And look at these 2 shiny leaves. I keep this one on my orchid shelf under the grow light. I've not had luck with the Hoya macrophyllas in the past, so I'm treating this one with extra TLC. Now this is my Hoya that's not doing very well. It's the Hoya Crimson Queen. She started off with such nice beautiful leaves in the summer, and now she's been attacked by mealybugs. I've been treating this plant for the last month. I am tempted to purchase a new one, but you know what? I'll keep trying to get her under control, and from all my care and cleaning, she's looking quite stressed. Now, on to better news. This Hoya australis is doing so good. It's bloomed so many times. I've actually cut her back from you've seen in my propagation video. Now she's shot out these tendrils in a matter of days. The nice thing is these tendrils are putting out peduncles. So once the leaves are hardened off and the stem is nice and firm, guess what? I'll be doing another propagation on this one. It's going to be great to give away to friends and family or for trades. So plant friends, comment below if you also hide plants behind your TV or behind your curtains. You know, when I have friends and family visiting, I like to tuck my plants away so it doesn't look like I've got too much plants or I'm like a crazy plant lady. Comment below, let me know. So my Hoya carrii has decided to do something this year. It's pushed out this tendril. It's been in my care for the last 2 years, and this is the first time I'm having such a lengthy growth on the plant. It's small, but it's a big deal to me. This one is the Hoya obovata variegata. Now you might remember this one from the Vandermeer shopping video. It's still doing well. It shot out 2 new leaves. The 2 top leaves are nicely variegated, so I'm very happy about that. Fingers crossed for no reversion. At least if it reverts, I still have a lengthy plant where I can cut back to. Now, it's still working on that peduncle. It hasn't changed much, but at least it hasn't dried up. So I'm hoping for something more over the next couple of months. It'd be nice to see this one bloom. So the the two cuttings that I showed you earlier, those are a backup to this plant. This plant started off so nicely. Look at those nice luscious leaves from last summer, and over the last while it's dropped some leaves. It's stable now, it hasn't dropped any leaves. I'm hoping it's gonna do something. The leaves are so beautiful. It has this nice sun stressing and those pink edges. It's absolutely gorgeous. I'm hoping that over the summer it's gonna push out some new tendrils and some new growth. It would be so beautiful. This Hoya carnosa has not done anything since fall. It's sort of dormant. I'm hoping once it gets warmer and a little bit more humidity, it will start to push out some new growth. I keep this one actually on the dry side over the winter. I'm very scared about having my plants having root rot, but I think as the weather gets warmer, I'm gonna up the water a little bit. Last summer it did very good out on the balcony, so I'll be moving it out to the balcony too. I also have the Hoya Matilde. Now this one started off as a nice little cutting, only 3 leaves, and it shot out quite a few new leaves. There's a small little branch at the bottom and a little branching at the top. I'm very impressed with this little cutie, and hopefully it's gonna branch out some more so I can have a nice big full pot. I'll need to add this one to a trellis soon. Hoya memoria is also another cutie. This one I've moved it closer to the sun, so the new leaves are quite dark from the sun stressing, and it's pushing out some branches. You can see 2 new leaves down by the base, so I'm hoping this plant's gonna branch out some more. Maybe I can do some more cuttings and have a nice full pot. Look at the splashing on this one. It's so gorgeous. Now under this cloche with a paper towel as my shade cloth is the Hoya imbricata red. Now this one I find that over the winter it struggled. It did push out tendrils, but no new leaves, and I'm hoping since it's under the cloche, has more humidity, and I've moved it to a more sunny spot with more sunlight, it's gonna push out some leaves. This plant was actually more of a red color with sun stressing when it came, so I know that it can handle more sun. And I see this tendril has something that looks like a little leaf, so I'm hoping that's gonna develop into a nice big leaf since it's under the cloche. But fingers crossed, and you know what? At least I'm keeping the plant alive, and it's still alive after the very dry winter that it had. If you remember from my first Hoya collection video, I had mentioned that the Hoya pot of gold was on my wish list. Well, I was able to find this plant. A very lucky find, especially since it's hard to find in my area. I purchased 2 of these plants. They were actually $50 each. Quite steep, but it is a rare plant and it's hard to find. This one with the 3 leaves has established quite a bit. The leaves are nice and firm. The first pot, one of the leaves are a little bit soft, so I'm hoping over summer it's gonna firm up and possibly push out a tendril. Overall, I'm very happy with the plants. I've had them for the last 2 months and I think they're doing very well. Now, just before completing my final edits on video, I came back to look at Hoya memoria. Look at that, there's a little branch. No leaves yet, but there's a branch there. And Hoya Matilde, there's 2 branches in the middle. I think I only saw one before. And tucked below at the bottom, there's a little branch sneaking out. So beautiful. Now, Hoya imbricata, I thought I'd come back and take a second look to see what's going on with that leaf. It was on my mind and it's doing something. It looks like it's gotten a little bit bigger from the last time, so fingers crossed that it will turn into a nice big full leaf. Thanks for watching, plant friends. Remember to like and subscribe, and you can follow me on Instagram at Lifeofbellina.